Welcome to the Grovecast, a municipal podcast hosted by the city of Cottage Grove. We're trying something a little new here and going out on a limb to show people, to demystify city government while also showcasing the real human beings who work every day providing all of your services to residents here in Cottage Grove. I am your co-host, Phil Gentz, the city's communications manager.
Hi, everyone. I am Emily Schmitz. I'm the city's community development director.
Emily, thank you. Welcome.
Of course, Phil.
We're here.
I'm so glad you invited me to be your co-host. I'm looking forward to chatting with everyone and giving everybody an inside look into the city of Cottage Grove, the inner workings.
I'm looking forward to it, too. I'll be completely honest. I thought you were going to laugh me out of the room when I suggested recording a podcast with me, and you just jumped right in, and so I'm really appreciative of that.
Yes, when you asked and you thought, oh, there's no way she's going to do this, and I'm like, why wouldn't I? What a fun experience.
This was on your bucket list?
It was not, but it is now.
It was not, but it is now.
Yeah.
Well, all the same, thanks for joining me. I know you're super busy, and so I do really appreciate it. Just real quick, why don't you just tell us a little bit about community development?
Yeah, Phil, not a lot of folks, when I say, ooh, I'm a planner, they're like, what do you plan, events? And it's like, well, no. Our department is really awesome. We get to work through development start to finish. So we work with the developers at the very early stages of development, and our department covers all the way through building permitting. And so once folks are ready to build that house, or they're building that garage or the addition to their house, we're the team that reviews those plans and makes sure that they all fall in line with our city's ordinances and the state building code. So I always say we have the best department, truly.
You have the best. Wow, you're throwing down day one, episode one.
Absolutely. You just wait till you get other directors in here. They're going to argue me, but I will win.
That's actually, I knew you were the right pick to co-host, because it's like a perfect segue. So that's kind of a little bit of what we're talking about with this podcast, is just a real quick, or maybe not, maybe it'll be a little bit more in depth some days, but a little bit of a dive into what the city does, why we do it. And then, like I said at the front end, just showcasing a little bit of the people behind the scenes. And so you're throwing down as the best department out there. We'll see.
I am, Phil, but I will be careful, because I think I also have to throw a plug in there and say these departments all come together, right? So I got to be careful. We all still have to work together.
It's a team.
I don't want to create any animosity, but we're a team, and we get it done together.
I can appreciate that. Next episodes, without getting too far ahead of ourselves, we'll probably have on other department heads and folks who work within those departments. So maybe it'll be a good-natured, well, here's all the really important things we do and why we're so important, right? So
absolutely.
Yeah. So like we said, that's kind of a little bit of the snapshot, if you will, of this podcast and what we're hoping to do. The goal really is to highlight, how the city operates and what we do and why we do it, and a little bit of the humanity behind it. And also we know that there's going to be folks just in the community who don't necessarily work for the city that I think could be really interesting to talk to, because there's a lot of really incredible stories out there and really incredible residents who you probably work with a lot, actually, considering what you do.
Yeah, truly, Phil. And interestingly enough, a little bit of my background, I actually started with the city in 2012. Man, okay. I wasn't even graduated from college, and they were like, yeah, we'll give you an internship in code enforcement. And I drove around this vehicle that at one point didn't have AC. And if anybody doesn't know what code enforcement is, we make sure that the property maintenance standards in Cottage Grove are being upheld, right? We don't like to see, junk cars parked in the front yard and things like that. So we work to make sure that folks are maintaining those things. So that's what I did as an internship, and then they hired me full time. So I did the code enforcement work for about 3 years. I left Cottage Grove for a short time and had an opportunity to come back as a planner. And so that was 6 years ago now. And to your point, Phil, I've been able to meet so many incredible folks in this community, work with so many incredible folks over just a 6-year span. And there are folks who have been in this community way longer than I have. So I can certainly attest that there's some really great individuals out there. So
I think so too.
I'd look forward to chatting with them here. It'd be great.
Me too, yeah. And so, we'll hear from different departments, different department heads, probably some elected officials, folks within the community who don't necessarily work for the city, but still have an interesting story to tell. And we're, looking forward to hearing from everyone and learning from everyone. Should be fun. So, real quick, I know that this isn't technically an icebreaker because we kind of already jumped into things, but I was walking in. It just happens to be, when we're recording this, it happens to be close to lunchtime. It's been meeting after meeting after meeting, probably the same for you. And we're just sneaking in, clementines and things here and there. And where we're recording this, it smells like a restaurant next door. And I'm thinking about lunch. So what, Emily, is your favorite food?
Yeah. Phil, like you said, my clementine on the way over here, it didn't cover me, but it's going to get me through.
One singular clementine is not your favorite food.
My goodness. Was it good, though, when you're hungry, man? That'll really hit the spot. But you're going to be, this is so embarrassing. Truly, if I have a lunch spot that I get to choose in Cottage Grove, I'm like Jimmy John's.
Jimmy John's, okay.
Yeah. In and out. I love a good sandwich. Their salt and vinegar chips. You can't beat them.
What's your order there then?
It's a number, I think it's a 16. You put me on the spot, Phil, like I've never ordered before. I'm
like taking notes for like, what am I going to get for lunch?
Right? Cheapers. But I love a turkey bacon. It's the best.
Can't go wrong.
No, you can't go wrong. No, so that always hits the spot. But here's what I will say. Junction 70 macaroni and cheese. I don't know if anybody's ever had it, but.
I haven't.
Oh,
maybe that's what I smelled coming in.
It had to have been because that will hit the spot.
Okay.
Absolutely. Any season, lunch.
I'm there. Mac and cheese.
Yes.
It's on my list of favorite foods. I think my go-to, though, has got to be French fries because, bad French fries are still French fries.
French fries.
And really good French fries are really good French fries.
Right?
They, change your life.
Truly.
Who's going to turn down French fries?
You won't. Phil.
Literally no one.
You won't. And honestly, they go with anything. So
right.
You certainly
including mac and cheese, maybe.
Absolutely.
Well, Emily, that's our introduction. Yeah. We're done because we're introducing ourselves.
That's it. So now they know everything about us.
That's it.
Essentially enough to be dangerous.
I think so.
And understand what we're doing here, how fun this conversation is going to be.
Right. So this is our first episode, kind of a test pilot, if you will. Our guest today is just us. It's Emily and Phil, because we thought as we get this thing rolling, it might be good for folks to meet us if they don't already know us, to get a sense for what the podcast will sound like or might be, which we kind of covered at the beginning, and go from there and talk to other department heads and other folks who work at the city and community members and otherwise. And so, Emily, we already kind of covered a little bit about what community development does. Are there any services that your department provides that people might not know about? There probably is.
Well, yeah. And what I always like to say is our department truly is the public facing department. When you walk into City Hall, we're the folks that are there welcoming you, making sure you get the information that you need. And that could range a whole host of questions that we've received, right, and try to help folks get what they need to keep moving forward with, whether it's their project or their, maybe they're looking for a county service, right? But we're there to guide you where we want you to be. And so we help with permitting process, any questions that you might have as it relates to caring for your property, or heck, even if you want to come in and you just want to chat about all this activity that's going on around town, I can guarantee you there's someone on my team who would love to sit down and chat with you about all of the things, the dirt that's moving, and what's being built. We're so integrated in that process that truly we love having those conversations with folks in the community. So, Phil, we're in it with these residents, but you are too, right? I mean, and interestingly enough, of all the folks at City Hall, you are like the easiest one to talk to. Does that does that correlate with being a communications manager? They're like, you got to have this, quality.
It might. I mean, as I talk to other communications folks across the state or otherwise, they tend to be like inquisitive people, which makes sense, right? Because government, as you know, especially regulations, is complicated, and it can be, maybe even boring or hard to understand. And so people who work in this line of work and who work in communications do tend to be curious people. They tend to ask a lot of questions, maybe annoyingly so. But that's just, I think it goes with the nature. You have to kind of have an inquisitive mind and learn, which is, in my experience, has been very helpful, because we're trying to figure out how to synthesize information and then communicate it to the public. And we are residents too. Like we live here too, and we don't understand the same things that other people don't understand.
Totally.
And so we're asking those questions and figuring out, hopefully on the front end, how to kind of communicate things.
Yeah.
And just generally speaking, we are involved in a lot of projects. Communications is we're talking with folks like yourself to try to, learn and understand all the projects that are happening in the city and figure out how to communicate them. And
I always feel bad, Phil. You show up in my office and you're like, man, I'm supposed to put these words together for this project, but
I need a crash course on this thing in 5 minutes.
Yeah. Right? Give it to me in 2 sentences. I know it's been a year-long thing, but give it to me in 2 sentences.
Which is then a challenge for you. Like you have a year's worth of information and you he needs 5 minutes of content that a 8th grader needs to understand,
right?
Or just whoever needs to figure out how to learn about that.
But you're always making us look good, Phil. I'll give you that.
Well, we do our best. Yeah. So myself and our staff, we manage all the information that the city puts out into the world, or most of it. Whether it's on the website or our social media channels, the newsletter that gets mailed to everyone. This podcast, apparently, which we're trying out.
It's going to happen.
It's happening. We're here doing it.
Yep.
That's what we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, Emily, are there any, issues that are your favorite? Anything that comes across your desk that you find like particularly interesting?
Yeah. So as I think back in my career, Phil, honestly, my favorite truly is working through a development, whether it's residential development or commercial development. And for those who are listening, most of you are aware in Cottage Grove, we've got development across the board, right? It's all happening. But I love working from the start of that conversation, coordinating with all the folks who are involved, and then working it through the approval process, through the planning commission, through the city council, and then seeing it actually happening. It truly is the best part of my job. And I always say, my biggest joy is when all of the departments and all of the folks get to work together and you have this end product. It's just, you can't beat it, Phil.
It is really cool when you think about it, because you really are on the ground floor of someone's idea. Yeah. They have a vision for that this lot could be something totally different, and it just is like an idea and a concept.
Yeah.
And you're there on that, and then you're there when it's done.
Right.
And everything in between, which could be years sometimes, many, many years sometimes.
Truly, yeah.
So that's really fascinating.
And then all of a sudden you get to drive around town and you're like, yeah, I remember we were working through the challenges with that site. Or right. I remember we had to coordinate some things with that. I
remember when Phil needed 2 minutes of information for a year's worth of project.
Yes, and I had to just, hone in, right?
Yeah.
So that truly is. But Phil, you must have some awesome parts of your job too, right? I mean, you get to work with people like me.
Well, listen.
Kidding.
At the risk of sounding like I'm, inflating your ego,
right.
This kind of stuff actually is my favorite, where we get to make like content. We get to do things that are a little bit creative, maybe a little bit outside of the box.
Yeah.
And so working with our folks at the South Washington County Telecommunications Commission on videos and this podcast and social media content, like all that stuff is really, really fun. I think I take value in providing information to residents because they need it, right? They need to know what's going on in the city. They need to know when a road's going to get closed down, or if there's an emergency and there's some like really important information that they need to know.
Yeah.
I take a lot of value and pride in providing that timely, accurate information. But this is the kind of stuff that's just like fun. Like we're just talking about mac and cheese and French fries and cool things that people do at their work. Like I really like doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I can't wait to go home and be like, you know what I did today? I talked about mac and cheese and French fries with my communications manager. It's just awesome. But Phil, it's so awesome though that your passion lies with making sure these residents are getting the information that they need. There's nothing more painful than when you're cruising around town, going to the grocery store to get that gallon of milk, and you're like, why is that road wonky? What is going on?
And it's so funny you say that. Like I've done this type of work for a long time, and you'd think I would be in on more information more quickly, which is true, but I still find myself driving around like, what do you mean this road is closed?
Yeah, how do I not know about this?
So it does happen because sometimes there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, Emily, just one real hard hitting, super controversial question to close things out on.
Phil, bring it on.
If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Oh, Phil, there are some days I wish my superpower was I could be invisible, right?
Oh.
So I can still get all the things done and I can hear what's going on.
And not be bothered.
And not be disturbed. Wouldn't that be awesome? But it's like you don't miss out on anything because you're still around.
I love that your superpower is work focused.
Isn't that terrible? I do have other hobbies. That's for a different episode. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
That's a different day. But just to be able to just float around and be there, but be invisible.
I can see that.
Phil, that came out really wrong.
No, I get
genuinely enjoy my team and all the folks that I work with.
I get it. I go into the office early a lot, and it's really nice because you're just there getting your stuff done, and and there's no distractions, or as much as I love having those kinds of conversations, but you just like getting your stuff done. I get it. I see it.
Find a perfect balance.
I see the vision. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, Phil.
Superpower. I have to go flying.
See,
I have to.
You think better on the spot than I do, I think.
Or I've just nerded out and thought about superpowers beforehand too much.
That's embedded. I should.
But my dad was an airline mechanic growing up. And so I got to sometimes, they had like bring your kid to work day, and I got to see the hangar and the airplane all torn apart. And it's like, of course.
Did you have to fill out a waiver for that?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Hopefully.
You survived.
One would hope.
It was fine.
I was too young to know.
All right.
Or care.
One of the two.
But I always wanted to fly. And so I think that, like, when I think about a superpower and being able to just like get somewhere like that.
Yeah.
Or, soar over the hills and
wherever you want to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about.
But maybe we combine being invisible and fly. So you're just like zipping around and no one sees you, and you're just kind of seeing the sights and doing the things.
I think you just came up with the next Marvel movie. Just so everybody knows, it started here.
Great invisible flying.
Correct. Something.
Thing.
We don't know yet, but
yeah, we'll workshop it. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
Episode 1. We'll get there.
Takes time, Phil.
Well, Emily, again, thanks for indulging the idea of a podcast, for not laughing me out of the room when I suggested it, and for coming in when you're busy and
of course,
taking a few minutes to record.
Phil, absolutely. I'm looking forward to more conversations here and having some really fun guests in here to talk through just the community in general, right? All the things that we have going on, all the good stuff, and keep the conversation going. Likewise. And just to remind everyone, you are? I am Emily Schmitz. I am the Community Development Director here at the City of Cottage Grove. Thank you, Emily. And I'm Phil Jentz, your Communications Manager. And again, thanks everyone for listening. This has been the Grovecast. It's a City of Cottage Grove municipal podcast, and you can catch episodes. What we're thinking is you can catch episodes monthly and listen or download. Find us at CottageGroveMN.gov/the Grovecast or wherever you get your podcasts. So stay tuned for our next episodes where we'll move on to other departments, city services, or just other topics. And thanks for listening.